let's explore the elements of SIEM. Okay, first we have the user interface, followed by the core engine, event collection, and monitored event. Okay, the core engine event collection and monitoring of the events all take place in the background. Okay, the user interface is designed for user interaction. It could include a search bar, dashboard creation, or any further, okay, that allow user or analyst to access and search through the data. The core engine is where most of the processing occur, and once this processing is complete, the result become available for user searches. The collection process involves parsing and injecting data, organizing field, and enhancing the logs for better readability. Okay, this information is presented according to the index or source type. Event collection is initially about gathering the events that are interest. Okay, in this context, identifying the monitor events is crucial as you need to collect them from various sources before displaying the information to the user. Okay, the primary focus of SIEM revolve around three key areas: your operation team, your overall security posture, and compliance. SIEM act as a central hub facilitating smooth operations for both IT and security team while ensuring comprehensive monitoring coverage. Okay, this means that it generates the collection of the right logs. Okay, effectively monitoring is initial, with data being stored approximately for extended period of support, investigation, and other needs. Okay, regarding compliance, it's crucial for retain a specific data sets for a significant duration to meet regulatory requirements. Depending on the compliance standard you are obligated to follow. These three critical aspects influence how SIEM should be configured and which tool to utilize, taking into account cost consideration. You might opt for a third party MSSP, managed security service provider, or compliance and security monitoring, or you could maintain an in-house team that understand your services and compliance needs. Okay, based on the understanding you can configure your SIEM tool to capture the necessary data. Let's discuss the SIEM process follow. Okay, specifically how it operates behind the scenes. The first phase of the SIEM process is data collection. Okay, as mentioned, we gather a significant amount of data from various devices and endpoint, which is centralized from that point. Okay, the data is processed further, so a lot of data is collected. Okay, next it's a initial to extract meaningful information from the data. This involves answering the question like who, when, what, was. Okay, the focus will be on identifying the who, when, and where among these queries. After that, you enhance the data's value by correlating it with information obtained from threat analytics, threat intelligence, or unknown bad IPs and domains, so that where your value come in. Imagine you have a firewall logs that show a person connecting to a specific IP address like 10.1.1.1. Okay, when 10.1.1.1 is associated with a bad actor, this is where you enhance the value of your logs. Logs along lack intelligence, so you need to extract relevant information and enrich it by correlating it with unknown bad actor. Finally, you present this information in a dashboard or report for the Security Operation Center SOC to review. Based on this, they can decide to take action or ask further questions. Okay, now typical features of SIEM. A typical SIEM solution offers a range of features including log collection, log analyze, and field correlation. It enables you to conduct log forensic, assist with compliance reporting, and monitor logs application. You can also review access audits and receive real-time or near real-time alerts as soon as an event is detected by SIEM. Okay, user actively monitoring is another key feature. Additionally, SIEM solution provide dashboards tailored for senior executive and regular reports for ongoing analyze. Okay, file integrity monitoring FIM can be set up for a specific servers, and you can also monitor device log from firewalls, switches, and router. Overall, these functionalities represent the core features you can expect from a standard SIEM solution. Okay, let's discuss the event life cycle. Starting from the initial stage of data collection to how that data ultimately become useful. The first stage in handling an event alert or log is collection. This involves sending logs from client to the log server. Initially, you need to ensure that logs are being sent using syslog or a private domain controller, which gather all the logs and is set up to forward them to system like Splunk, QRadar, ArcSight, or any similar solution. Okay, after collecting, we move on to normalizing. Normalizing is a process of converting different representation of the same type of data into a consistent format. For example, consider your firewall logs. Suppose you have two different firewall in your environment. You might have a Cisco firewall and a Jupyter firewall, or perhaps a FortiGate or Palo Alto firewall. While these firewalls provide similar type of data, they do so in different format. Normalizing takes care of this by parsing the data into common fields typically used for firewall logs, and that make it easier for you to index, retrieve, and report information. For instance, if I want to search for an IP address related to a specific user that was logged on both firewall, okay, both firewalls, I should not have to create a different rule. Instead, I can simply set the index firewall and input the IP address. This way, it will search across both the FortiGate and Palo Alto firewalls or any other firewall and provide the relevant logs. This process normalizes the data into a format that can be easily understood and stored by the SIEM, okay, allowing to efficient indexing. Indexing is initially about optimizing the data retrieval for search queries. Think of it like how a typical textbook is organized. At the beginning of the textbook there is an index, right? The author does not create the index first and then write the chapter. Rather, they write the chapter first and then create the index. First, we will gather the data, then determine which index is belongs to. Once the logs match a specific solution, it recognizes that it originated from a firewall logs. The logs header such as the Asian or FortiGate indicate this, allowing us to categorize it under the firewall index. When the data is tagged as a firewall logs, database log, window logs, proxy log, or web server logs, okay, it's a simplify the search process for analysts. So if the request log for the firewall, it will display those log. If you ask for web server logs, it will show you those instead. Initially you are tagging and optimizing the logs based on the type of activity they represent. Now consider that you have multiple vendors like FortiGate and Palo Alto, both of which are firewall and represent similar activities due to their different formatting. You cannot create two separate index. Instead, you can use a single index for firewalls and combine both Palo Alto and FortiGate log into that index, enabling you to search through both sets of firewall logs simultaneously. Okay, when it comes to storage, you have option for long term, medium and short term storage. You can keep your data on a local device or use an extended array such as a SAN or NAS device. Okay, for external storage, you can keep the data in the cloud for up to 180 days, archive archive it in an off-site location, or set up your own internal server for the data storage. The choice is yours, but for easy retrieval and analyze, proper data store is initial. Next is a correlation. This involves looking for common process, username, IP address, or machine name across different data sources to identify a single event. For example, if I want to track activities from a username like Arnav, Asutosh, or Nishant at 2 o'clock, whether in a US or Indian time, I will not specify any particular index. Instead, I will focus on the username. The SIEM solution or log management system will then the search through all logs to find occurrence of that username, displaying the data from various sources such as a window authentication log. It could be a firewall logs or a proxy logs that show a specific user activities. At that moment, it will display everything, allowing for correlation between multiple data sources to identify a single event that I am particularly interested in. Next is the alerting process. Alerting involves identifying a security activities that our security team needs to focus on. You can set up a rule that triggered an alert when this activity occur, sending a notification to your email or to a central tracking system where it can be recorded and act open. A SIEM tools enables you to set up alerts. For instance, you can schedule a log search every hour, and if that a specific activity is detected, you will be notified. Alternatively, you can run a queries every minute or two, and if any activities is found in the last 2 minutes, you will be receive an alert. If some occurs if something occur every 2 minutes, it is important to report it, and you can set up an alerting system to notify your security team, who can decide if an investigation is warranted. Okay, you also have reporting capabilities. Reports are generated on all events, which can be useful for long term learning and metrics. This means you can collect your report effectively. You can create a report to determine whether an activity is normal or abnormal. For instance, you can generate a report for the past 30 days, or even for just 2 days or fortnight, to analyze what transpired over the last 15 days. This allows you to see if the activities were typical and compare them with the following 15 days. This process is initial for understanding the event life cycle within a SIEM solution. So now let's discuss the type of data you want to incorporate into your SIEM solution. Before dividing into that, we should examine SOC control and management. Here, we will cover various aspects, including the role of the SOC and the type of logs you need to collect to being. Let's focus on enterprise policy violation. For instance, your SOC control might indicate that any violation of corporate or enterprises policy should be flagged. This could involve situations like someone sending out emails with a large amount of data which goes against policy. It could also include employees watching movie in the office, downloading game on their work laptop, or accessing restricted website, all of which violate policy. It's initial for the SOC to be aware of these policies, and you must comprehend how these policies translate into logs that indicate violations. That is the first point. The next aspect is monitoring. You need to monitor all relevant logs and data stream to effectively alert for any unusual activity. This will involve creating alarms or alert for a specific incidents. Finally, there is an incident response, which is a crucial component of the SOC. When an incident occurs, it is vital to have a well defined incident response plan in a place with all necessary parties involved in the process. Your SEO, network team, database team, desktop team, and server team all need to be involved in a incident response. When an issue arises, they should assist in remediating the specific incidents, infection, or activities. It is crucial to conduct malware attribute searches to identify infection and determine how to stop them and contain any malware threat. We also need to establish what actions should be taken when malware infection occur. How how do I articulate this? What do I call it? An outbreak of infection. It is important to understand the necessary step when a malware outbreak happens. Additionally, we must grab the security measures involved. What control can I implement after the incident or alert is detected? For instance, can I modify the firewall configuration or just my antivirus setting? It is initial to comprehend how we can enhance our security measures to protect ourselves from incidents that have already been identified. When it comes to security recommendations, if I notice an incident like random files appearing in window or window 32, particularly in crucial folders, my advice would be that no one should have permission to write a file there. We should enforce a strict policy in execution, and access to the command prompt should be limited to generic user, right? The security operations center SOC can provide us with recommendations. Properly validate them and offer user cases to explain the rationale behind them. Based on this information, we can implement the suggested use case and recommendation. The SOC will also conduct forensic analysis using the SIEM solution, digging deeper into the log to determine when and how the incidents began, correlating data from multiple sources and creating a timeline of the attack. From there, they can recommend countermeasure or share lesson learned. Additionally, we have threat intelligence, which adds significant value by providing context to our logs. Certain indicators can be IP based, domain based, or related to email domain. There are also file name, file hash, and executable file that can indicate malicious activities. Recognizing these indicators help us to identify potentially dangerous files and take appropriate action. Please be aware of this potential for malicious IP traffic and domains. If you notice these in your environment, it is crucial to block them or take appropriate action. This is a part of ensuring your cyber resilience involves preparing to defend against cyber attacks. It raises questions about how robust your defenses are and what type of controls you have in place. Consider the layered control, you implement focused operations. On the other hand, mean concentrating your effort on identifying a specific threat. For instance, if you are in the manufacturing sector, your operation should prioritize protecting your industrial control. You might run focused operations aimed at ensuring your critical infrastructure is secure and not subject to attack or tampering. These are standard security controls and managed practices that typically play a role in daily SOC operation. They also relate to various log sources that feed into the SIEM, which we will discuss next. Okay, as you can see in the slide, there are multiple data sources that feed into your SIEM solution. First, let's talk about your perimeter security. Okay, this include email gateway, anti-malware, IDS, IPS, and perimeter firewalls, along with your DDoS protection, all of which are crucial for securing the edge of your network. To effectively logs this information into your SIEM solution, you need to ensure network control and security. This involves your VPN, enterprise messaging, wireless security, zone-based IPS, IDS, and wired solution with proxies. All of these data should be integrated into Splunk or any SIEM solution, allowing your security team to have a clear view of the network security data. With perimeter security data logged, you can better understand who is entering and exiting your network. Additionally, it is important to log your endpoint data, which includes antivirus logs, desktop firewalls, advanced threat protection, active directory information, host-based IPS, IDS, DLP, and compliance requirements such as those from FDCs. Okay, depending on your company's specific need. You can log these data from various endpoints, whether they are laptop, desktop, or mobile devices. If it is a company issued phone, they will provide it for you. They will likely monitor your activities on that phone to see what you are doing, where you are going, and everything else. They will also keep track of your application security logs, such as your WAF log, application zone firewall, port, and in-house application firewalls. Okay, if you have any static or dynamic application testing logs, as well as the application controls you have in place, those should be integrated into Splunk or a similar solution. This way you can also cover the applications that are part of your corporate structure, especially those your company provide as a services to clients. Next, consider your data security measures, including your database firewalls, public key infrastructure, encryption policy, data classification, DLP, and everything else related to the data security. For instance, who is accessing your database, what action are they attempting, are they authorized, what command are they executing. You should also examine how key exchange occur, where the key are stored, and what type of data are being transferred out of the network. It is important to know the classification of the data that leaves and whether the DLP is in place. Finally, there is a policy management, which the SOC will primarily use to understand the implemented employees policy. This includes UAV policy, risk controls, threat modeling, security frameworks, encryption policies, IT governance, and everything else that fall under the policy management, helping the SOC distinguish between good and bad practices. If you notice someone try to copy a large amount of data into a USB drive, it is important to determine whether this is permitted. If you are unsure, there is a risk that you might be aware of the situation but fail to take action, allowing the data to leave the environment. However, if you know that there is a USB policy in place that prohibits anyone from connecting their drive to your USB port or laptop to copy the data, you can intervene and inform them that this is not allowed. This scenario highlights typical data sources alongside your policy management and aspect of the data security. Monitoring these data sources should be a part of your SIEM solution or login practices. Okay. The SIEM architecture is structured in a step by step manner. The first, the system input come into play. The SIEM tool receive the data from various log sources, which include event data from operating system, application, and databases. Additionally, it's gather contextual information such as a user detail, threat intelligence, security management data, and vulnerability scans. These two types of information are processed within the SIEM infrastructure. Searching the SIEM solution itself, once the data is received, the system performs data collection, normalizing, correlation, and aggregation. After this process, the result is set a readable and reliable data that makes sense. When we review the logs based on this output, we can conduct analyze gather report we can conduct analyze gather report or carry out to real time monitoring or specific activities. Okay. So this is the actual log. If you look at the syslogs data, you will see what constitutes a normal logs. As you can see, the logs contain multiple points. The first things you notice is the date and time stamp. Okay, and you can also see the system IP address. Okay, other name, location, and other owner information including the administrator. What does this number represent? You can identify the server. Is the server running? This number indicate that where is it documented. You can search for that information. You can use the username or password like the organization real name, WhatsApp privilege, and then you can see the DNS name and the organization IP addresses. Additionally, you can find the port number and the active service number that is attempting to access the system. Each log contains multiple data points And what SIEM does is break this information down and assign a field name to everything, allowing you to start searching the data. Okay, adding context. Let's say you have a piece of data logs. If you are familiar with it, you will understand what it means, but if you are not, it can be confusing. Without knowing this background of the logs, where it's organized from, you will not grasp its significance, that where context come in. For instance, you might see geolocation information tied to an IP address. Your assigned solution can identify that this IP address is from the USA. Now you realize that the activity organized from the USA. Additionally, you can determine whether it was a request and identify the source IP. If the source IP is from, say, the Moscow office, you know that someone from there initiated the connection. Furthermore, you can see that the user associated with this action is Kishore, and the detail are pulled from your active. You can see that the user associated with action is Arnav, and the detail are pulled from your active directory or globally directory where user information is stored. Now it will be started that Arnav is from the Moscow office and is part of the security operation team that accessed this specific site. With this additional context, it becomes clear that Arnav, who is a part of the Moscow office and the security operation team, accessed an IP address location located in Russia. At first glance, the log may not reveal much, but when you incorporate this context, you gain a more comprehensive understanding of the situation. Furthermore, this context is crucial for identifying the key detail. For instance, if you recognize this location, do you have any business dealing there, and are you aware of the volume of the data being transferred? Do you have any suspicious about the activities, or is it something that commonly occur? By adding this context, you can better grasp what is truly happening, and which will inform you investigation process and moving forward. Okay, now critical feature of SIEM. Let's discuss 8 critical features of SIEM. First, we have got log collection. Okay, I might repeat myself here, but it is initial to delve deeper into its features. Log collection involves gathering log from various data sources and centralizing them in one location. A key aspect of log collection is the event per second. Okay, this refer to the rate at which the IT infrastructure generate logs. It is crucial that our SIEM solution can handle the EPS, event per second, effectively. If the event per second exceed what the SIEM can manage, we risk losing logs due to crashes, meaning those logs will not reach the SIEM solution because it lack the capacity to process them at that rate. If not, it not calibrate correctly, the SIEM solution may start dropping events before they are stored in the database, which can lead to inaccurate reports and search results, as well as issue with alerting and correlation. Next, we have the user activity monitor. Okay. Next, we have user activity monitoring, which include user behavior analysis. This feature is a particularly prominent in tool like Splunk, okay, where understanding user behavior is vital. The SIEM solution is also offer privileged user monitoring and auditing along with behavior analysis. This means tracking what action a user took and when they did it, and why they did it, and where it occurred. Is this behavior typical or unusual? The user behavior activity solution aim to provide you with comprehensive insight. SIEM solutions are integrating many of these features. For instance, they can monitor privileged user and conduct behavior analysis by default or as a built-in feature. Additionally, there is a real-time event correlation. This means you can correlate multiple events from various data sources to understand what actually occurred. For example, if we have antivirus logs and firewall logs, I want to be alert whenever there is an IDS or IPS log from a machine followed by a firewall logs indicating a connection attempt to a port 80 traffic. Okay, if there is actively on a port 80 and 443 at the same time, I need to be notified when this happened. An alert will be generated indicating that Arnav's machine triggered an IPS alert from SMB traffic, and we also detected this type of traffic in the firewall. This will prompt further investigation into the matter. If I notice a machine showing up in my IDS, IPS, and antivirus log at any point in the last 24 hours or even at last 10 minutes, the user should also be present in both data server within that 10 minutes window. We need to investigate what kind of activity occurred and whether there were any alert trigger in both system, what caused the alert. For instance, did they and do something, or did the IDS IPS detect an issue that raised an alarm, or did the IDS APIs detect an issue that raised an alarm? I can correlate the data from multiple sources and points, and based on that, I can create a rule and search to ensure that these alerts are real time, allowing me to start a deeper investigation. Log retention. Log retention is a crucial. It is important to centrally store logs from your server. When you do this, you must remember that you are essentially providing a goldmine of information to someone who could potentially mislead. When storing all enterprise logs in a SIEM or a critical or central repository, access should be limited to a select few individuals. No one else should be able to tamper with those logs, as any alteration could lead to false information. It is essential to maintain accurate timestamp and ensure that your log are editable. Any attempt to create or modify the log should trigger alert and to be tracked. Additionally, it should be easy to retain and analyze log source using the central solution itself. In my previous organization, we managed around 500 clients, which varied in size from small to medium and large. Most of our smaller clients primarily wanted a compliance check. They need assurance that a company was monitoring their security and would alert them if anything went wrong. Initially, they were required by a compliance regulatory to have security term implement as a SIEM solution to monitor their logs and provide alerts for any incidents. These compliance requirements could include PCI DS for payment card industry standard, FISMA, ZLBA, SOC, or HIPAA for health related patient data. For instance, if you are in a hospital, it is a crucial to ensure that patient data is stored securely and is not accessible to unauthorized individual. Therefore, if you are a company or an organization operating under the compliance requirement, it is likely that you have a SIEM solution in place along with a dedicated team to oversee it. It is important to have a SIEM solution that track and report all changes, such as when a file or folder is created, accessed, or renamed. Some SIEM solutions come with file integrity module that are deployed on central servers. This way, if someone trap with a folder or change something within it, you will receive an alert indicating that a change has occurred. It is essential to review these alerts and access whether the activities were authorized. Log forensic. This involves the skill of reading logs, understanding their content, and making sense of them. The ability to analyze the log allow you to determine what they are indicating, identifying pattern, create rules, or generate report based on their information. Logs alone may not provide much insight, but when you put them in context and search for the specific activities, they become much more meaningful. This is what we refer to as a log forensic. Now let's talk about dashboard. Okay, dashboard are critical for management because they provide a quick overview of what happened in the last 24 hours. Manager want to see what alert were triggered, who the top talker, and what type of activities are taking place. They need to know how many malware infection were detected, how many users failed to log in, and how many access critical infrastructure. Dashboard can be configured to display this information, allowing the security team to review these activities effectively. Okay. SIEM deployment. There are several ways to deploy your SIEM solution. First, we need to understand how Security Operations Center (SOC) are structured. You have internal SOC, where security persons are based within their organization, providing monitoring capabilities around their clock, whether that is 24 by 7, 24 by 5, or another configuration based on team size. Then there is a then there is the hybrid SOC model, where part of your monitoring is handled by a managed security service provider, MSSP. This third party team take on the first level of monitoring. They identify issue and report back to you. They also analyze your SIEM solution and inform you if they notice anything unusual, asking if you can address it. This approach is often adopted when there are not enough resources, manpower, or budget to hire additional staff. We have all we have a couple of options. One is to completely outsource your operation to a managed security service provider, MSSP, like Wipro, Symantec, or Accenture. There are many companies that specialize in this area. You can hand over your security need to them, and they will have their level 1, level 2, and level 3 team to monitor their alerts. They will trigger and investigate any issue that arise. If something critical occur, they will contact you to discuss their necessary next step and coordinate with the company for further action. For small companies, their IT team typically handles the monitoring themselves. When they need additional manpower for investigation, they also often hire an external vendor to handle the monitoring and analyze. This vendor provide insight into the situation and deliver a report before leaving for the day. There are various models that illustrate how a security operation center SOC is structured and organized. Once the SOC is set up, the Security Information and Event Management SIEM solution, the SIEM solution will also be organized in a similar manner. This is a particularly relevant given the prevalence of cloud technology and application. Nowadays, SIEM solutions are often deployed in the cloud for ease of use and cost effectiveness. Okay, the first model we see on the screen is the Salesforce self-managed option. This means the solution is hosted within the organization or on premise, with all the operation conducted in house. A dedicated SIEM team considering of a few individual is responsible for managing the tool. They ensure it is properly configured and assist the SOC team in understanding the event source. Okay. They also make sure the tool is operational, monitoring its health and licensing all managed internally. While professional services may assist within the initial setup, the ongoing management and daily operation of SIEM solution are handled in house. Then we have the MSSP, managed and self-hosted option. As I mentioned earlier, another aspect is that the SIEM solution is hosted within my organization, meaning that it is on premise. The MSSP team contact to my SIEM solution or manage the entirely. In this case, the data flows from my organization and the MSSP, either the host or manage the SIEM solution. And I don't have a dedicated team for this. I prefer not to have my staff manage the SIM platform. Mm, the MSSP has been given the authority to manage, configure, and add data sources, as well as set up the rules and maintain their health of SIM solution. They handle all the challenges of keeping the tool operational and addressing any issue that arise. If something goes wrong, they have internal SLA to ensure it get fixed and brought back online, and assisting me with managing and utilizing the tool effectively. Okay. In a jointly managed self-hosting setup, certain tasks like correlation, aggregation, and visualization are shared between us and the other team. For instance, during a business hour from 8 to 5, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., our in-house team handle these responsibilities. After hour, the other manager security managed security service provider MSSP takes over the operation and manage the solution for our company. This agreement ensure 24 by 7 coverage, keeping the tool operation and well managed at all time. Okay. Now, when it come to cloud MSSP manage, where we are talking about solution like Splunk Cloud or Alien Value, which are hosted on platform like Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud. Initially, these companies use this cloud service to run their entire SIEM solution. Then you have managed security service provider like Semantic or Splunk that take care of this solution. These MSSP are responsible for managing the assigned solution. This means they will initiate the kick-off call with your team to discuss your data source and how to configure and deploy sensors. They will be on hand to assist with sensor deployment, configuration, and ensuring that logs are being collected and processed correctly. They also help you utilize the tool effectively. However, the event sources will always come from my company since it is my SIM solution. The tool itself is hosted in the cloud. The MSSP handles the day-to-day operation of the entire SIEM solution, allowing us to focus on using the tool. That that is initially how it operation, and it continue to function effectively in the cloud. Again, the tool is managed in the cloud, where the both internal team member and MSSP person share the responsibilities of managing and configuring it. For instance, in my previous company, while we were managing a cloud based tool, we didn't have a data capping. Even though we marketed the product with a limit of 10 GB per day for logging. Once you hit that limit, you could not log any more data. Okay, you have purchased a contract for 10 GB per day, and we charge based on that limit. If a user or a client exceed 10 GB, it falls to the in-house SOC or the MSSP to manage their situation, deploying on their operation time frame. They need to implement measures to prevent the client from sending excessive data like 50 GB. You might wonder what happens if more data is sent. When there is an influx of data, process like collection, aggregation, and slow down correlation slow down. This slowdown also affect visualization and alerting capabilities. My company, as a MSSP, is responsible for implementing the necessary tool. We need to collaborate with the in-house team, especially during off hour, to address these scenarios. We might suggest capping the data sent by a particular client to 10 to 15 GB per day over the time. It's crucial to coordinate this effect to ensure that clients are not overwhelming the cloud with excessive data. The cloud can scale infinitely, but we can only spin up more instance based on incoming load. If you have estimated a certain load for a specific activities and lack the proper infrastructure, it can negatively impact collection and aggregation process. This in turn of affect other client sharing the same infrastructure. That is how the MSSP and in-house SOC will work together. If they notice a sensor is down, the MSSP team will likely reach out to the NOC and say, hey, the particular cell server sensor is down. Can you check what happened? The NOC will investigate the issue and determine if there a problem within the server, or possibly providing remote access to the MSSP team to resolve it. So this handover process is initial between the MSSP and our SOC. Okay. Cloud self-managed, as I mentioned, there are various components involved in the aggregation and collection of data, followed by correlation in the cloud, which fall under my responsibilities. The MSSP primarily focused on ensuring that the data is being collected effectively. They check if the data is being parsed correctly. Parsing in this context refer to the process of taking a set of the data and organization it into the fields and making it more readable. Different firewalls have unique logging format, and even window or event logs are structured differently. If the logs are not parsed correctly, providing a dump of logs become unless because it is unreadable. The aggregation and parsing occur at the stage where the logs are formatted into a more understandable structure, which is initial for correlating data from various sources. This is how the MSSP manage the process, and after that we handle visualization and alerting to create dashboard, alert, and analytic report while also ensuring that the data is retained within the system. It is a hybrid model with some components in the cloud and other on premise. The data sources are split between the two environments. Both sides send their data to the same solution, and the team collaboratively manage the tool, including its configuration and security. If the solution is hosted on AWS, for instance, it's up to Amazon to secure their S3 bucket, while the organization must also take responsibility for their own security. There are many handoffs between the teams, so it's crucial to establish a clear service level agreement SLA that outline responsibilities, response time to alert, and coverage detail. For example, will I receive a phone call for critical alerts? How frequently can the managed security service provider modify alert, such as adding whitelisted or changing alert login? Will they provide analyze reports for further event investigation? These activities need to be discussed and includes in the contract. Both teams should have a tough handoff process, like a hurdle before one team in their shift and the other take over. This is a typically how it to work in a MSSP or in-house when manage a hybrid solution. Okay. Why do SIEM implementation fail? Let's consider a scenario where there is a lack of planning. If you have not clearly defined the scope of what your SIEM solution will monitor, you are setting yourself up for trouble. Okay, it is initial to identify what you need to keep eyes on. For instance, if you have critical resources like a web server, a database, a firewall, or a specific endpoints, failing to establish a defined scope can lead to issues. Without this clarity, you might end up logging everything in your environment, which can quickly push you over your license limit. When that happens, your tool may become ineffective, and you will find yourself needing to purchase additional license. This is where audit logging specification come into play. They help you to determine what data you want to log for a specific system, or what data source, allowing you to focus only on the particular information. For example, if you have a window infrastructure with 50,000 machines, you will want to be very selective about what you log for those endpoints. Let's me let's me focus on login only the security events for the window machines. So what you are saying is that I will not log system or application log in my SIEM solution. This means I am narrowing the scope and trying to stick to my defined perimeter, and I will only monitor security activity from an endpoint, not a system or application monitor for a specific system. Then there are issue with faulty deployment strategy. As I mentioned, If you don't limit your log collection and start logging everything in your SIEM solution, the volume can be so high that your system get overloaded and initially become unusable. You will you will end up needing to purchase more license or add more instance just to ensure that the data is stored properly for retrieval. Additionally, as I pointed out in another instance, if you don't have a solid plan for scalability in your tool, it can lead to problem. For example, if a client is supposed to send 10 GB but end up sending 50 GB over limit, and your system is not equipped to handle that, it could negatively impact other organization as well. Okay. Business benefits. There are numerous benefits of using SIEM solution. First and foremost, it offers real-time monitoring, allowing your team to receive immediate alert. Additionally, it can lead to significant cost saving during investigation or breaches. When you have to gather the data and generate report and provide evidence to investigators, having a SIEM can streamline this process. Without it, you would need to log into multiple devices to piece together what happened at any given time. With a SIEM, all your data is centralized, making it easy to query and analyze. Moreover, a SIEM help ensure compliance. Your team can easily access the data from the past 180 days stored within the SIEM solution, which meet compliance requirements. This includes recording window events logs, firewalls activities, and web server logs. I kept track of email logs and record proxy data for the last 180 to 200 days. This allow me to provide auditors with proof that I am logging the data and that my security measures are monitoring this activity. I can also report to management about activities that occurred in the last 24 hour, 28 hour, or over the past week, month, or even 3 months. Okay, this help identify the pattern in the data. From there, you can build your security case. For instance, if you want to implement an EDA type solution in our organization, you can use this data to as a evidence. This will also help demonstrate a rapid return on investment based on their cost associated with the solution. Ultimately, you should break even or see the returns on your investment within the first 1 to 2 years, depending on the scale of deployment and the activities you can monitor, as well as the attacks you can respond to quickly. Ability to swiftly identify and react to incident is what truly justify the investment in a SIEM solution. Okay.